Any evil spirit or demon without a body cannot exist in physical time. That is why you see or hear about demons possessing man or animal, because they need that body to exist in physical time. You can refer to the Bible on how Jesus casted away demons from a man into swine, because the demon desperately needed the body of swine to exist in physical time. Mark chapter 5 verses 1 to 17.
Time and space do not work together. When space comes in contact with time, it puts a stop to time. When time is put to a stop, every flesh and physical structure that exists within time also comes to a stop. But the mystery in Tay Martins' encounter was his consciousness that remained alive throughout the frozen of time.
This was not a dream. I was awake. I physically saw space came in charge by putting a stop to time. I could not move because I was trapped in my body. My body cannot operate in space. But I was conscious. I was caught in between time and space, brought about by the power of witchcraft. I saw a witch alive.
Stories of witchcraft's attacks and torments are common in Africa. It is a general belief that witches operate by sleeping and leaving their body behind, to transform into space as spirit. They could sleep for 5 minutes in time while operating for 5 hours in space. How do this happen? It is a tough mystery to understand. It is just as complex as the science of traveling from time to time in space by extraterrestrials, as widely suggested by scientists who dares to think out of the box.
You don't need to try hard to convince people about the realities of witchcraft in Africa. It's undeniable. It is evident almost everywhere. In Nigeria, it happens similarly in Europe and the entire Western world, except that the government has the resources to cover up and protect the society of these fears. In Africa, we care less.
How can mankind understand further the concept of this complex science? Can the study of these fearsome mysteries be of benefit to mankind? Is our perception about witchcraft, which is limited to unleashing of evil and destructions, accurate, or a mere stereotype? Are witches misunderstood? Are we afraid of witches? Shouldn't we be? Is fear the reason for our lack of interest?
I think the preferred approach is not to shy away from our fears but confront it. Witchcraft has always been and still in existence, even in the western part of the world from the beginning of days. It's the same thing in Africa and the entire western world. What is different is the branding. It is probably convenient to brand the superiorities in Africa with words like witchcraft, juju, or black magic, because those words makes it sound primitive. But with the same superiorities manifesting in Western societies, they probably feel like we can stoop low to share the same primitive syndrome with Africa, like we are more civilized society. So they came up with a more civilized nomenclature, paranormal.
In Africa, you cannot talk about witchcraft without discussing religion. But why is witchcraft so dominant and relevant in Africa, in spite the popularity and magnitude of existing religions? Is religion truly a solution? How can witchcrafts be averted, and the influence, the fear of witches reduced, or eradicated in Africa? What are the factors responsible for this menace?
Whatever you have no knowledge about keeps you in fear. We need to seek knowledge. I try as much as possible to discourage people from giving relevance to witchcraft, but it's a reality here. We are afraid because we have little or no knowledge about how witches operate. Instead of seeking knowledge, what we do in Africa is find refuge in religion. Religion, in turn, encourages and exploits our fears for profit. But the growth in our fear is leverage for witchcraft. So it's a win-win for religion and equally for witchcraft. Both institutions of religion and witchcraft are growing, but people are not. Africans remain victims of both religion and witchcraft. That is why you see that despite all the prayers in Africa, all the crusades, we are not really progressing. Witches work on our fears and ignorance. They know we are afraid of them. We shouldn't be. Fear is the difference in the manner the Westerners perceive witchcraft and the manner Africans. So to put a stop to witchcraft, we must first overcome our fears. And how do we do that? We seek knowledge.
Tay Martins is the head pastor of Kingdom Unity Ministries. He believes in a modified approach to sorting the menace of witchcraft in Africa. In the next episode, he teaches the science behind the operation of witchcraft, steps and measures to be taken for the individual protection of oneself.
If you ask me, what is the number one enemy of witchcraft? Civilization, I will tell you. Why do you think Africa is underdeveloped despite all the natural wealth and money pumped into it? Because Africa is the stronghold of witches, and they don't want to lose it to civilization like it happened in Europe and other developed regions. Civilization brings about electricity. It eradicates darkness and quietness. These are the enabling factors for smooth witchcraft operations. There is an array of enabling factors that needs to be in proper condition before witches or demons could gain access to you. All you need to do is alter or disturb these conditions. The knowledge about understanding what to do is your power. Simply, knowledge is power.
Who are the witches? How do we fight them? How do we protect ourselves from witches? Are witches misunderstood? Do witches also do good things? Are witches only hateful or also helpful? What does God say about witchcraft? Catch up with Pastor Tay Martins in the next episode of A Witch in My Bedroom.
There is only one power, and it belongs to God. It depends on whatever you do with it. If you use it for evil, it becomes an evil power. If you use it for good, it becomes a godly power. But God's power comes with rules. So if you want God's power, you must be ready to abide by its rules. Otherwise, it would be taken away from you. Ever since that first encounter with witches, I have met and interacted with many witches and wizards, demons and spirits, some in their true human identity, some in their monstrous identity. Witches are equally vulnerable, but there are things you do not say in public. Yes, with God's power, there are solutions, but remember, there are rules. I believe that quiet voice speaking to my mind that very night was that of the Holy Spirit. My hero and savior of that night is Jesus. What would have happened to me if I didn't remember to call his name?